I want to welcome everyone attending today's meeting. The meeting of the Arizona Board of Regents was called to order on Wednesday evening before convening in executive session. Today's public meeting is scheduled until 4:30. A link to the live stream of the public meeting is available on the board's website under ABOR Live or by going to YouTube and searching for ABOR News. I would like to ask Regent Reed, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Regent Reed. First of all, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to President Robbins for his hospitality in hosting our meeting this week. Thank you, President Robbins, and thank you to all the members of your team as well. Today's meeting is the first regular meeting of the board since I became chair. It is my great honor to serve as chairwoman of the Arizona Board of Regents. During our next board meeting in June, I would like to take some time to share a little about my background and, more importantly, my vision, priorities, and goals for the year ahead. I know some of you, especially the press, have expected for me to start that today, but I needed to wait and also continue to with some of the areas that we're focusing. And in June, I would share my priorities. So I have a few announcements to do and to say. In fact, some may know, but it bears repeating. Arizona is the only state in the United States where all of its four-year public universities have the highest rating, a green light rating, from the Foundation for Individuals' Rights and Expressions, the national expert of rating free speech at college campuses. Last month, we celebrated the constitutional right and power of free speech with the Board of Regents' 5th Annual Regents Cup. Witnessing the exceptional performances of our students, brimming with informed debates and compelling narratives, was truly inspiring. My sincere gratitude goes out to the tremendous dedication of the coaches and judges whose support made this event possible. The scholarships we're able to provide to our students through this event, funded by our generous sponsors, create new opportunities and possibilities for others and for them. President Crow, we thank you and graciously hosted the event this year at the ASU downtown campus. The home team clinched the cup with ASU claiming victory over last year's champion, University of Arizona. Congratulations, President Crow and the ASU team on their triumph, and congratulations to all the students who showcased their talents at this event. Your skills are very impressive, and it was an honor to listen to your debates stories. In an effort to increase FAFSA, which is our next subject, submissions in Arizona, Governor Hobbs officially declared April as the finish line to the FAFSA month. Due to challenges and disruptions in the federal rollout of the new FAFSA, there has been a national decline in submissions. The board, alongside our universities, state and local governments, college access organizations, and other collaborations, are mobilizing all hands on deck efforts to address the decline in FAFSA submissions, specifically within Arizona. And I want to thank each of the enrollment group of each university that have been working on making this effort less complicated for our students to sign for the FAFSA. So a vault of resources has been developed to encourage Arizona's graduating senior students and family complete the FAFSA that include one-on-one in-person and virtual events to help students and families complete the FAFSA, a hotline, text message support, web pages with tips to help families, and more. The staff has also supported a phone bank with Telemundo. Thank you, Telemundo. Completing FAFSA is crucial to students that can gain funding. aid and scholarships to gain access to college and start their education journey to career and opportunity. I'm very grateful to Governor Hobbs for creating greater emphasis on FAFSA completions, and I thank our staff from the board and universities who are working to help our students and family. More than 1,000 soon-to-be school graduates across Arizona also participated in El Valle Puede celebration to tip off Arizona Decision Day at Footprint Center just a few weeks ago. Elios Foundation, the Phoenix Suns Phoenix Mercury Foundation, and several communities partners, including the board, participated in this event to celebrate Arizona class of 2024 accomplishments and their future plans. Arizona Decision Day, which extends to graduation this year, empowers students to take charge of their futures by making plans beyond high school, whether it's college, trade school, military, or the workforce. This event, which brought together students from across the state, was an amazing celebration. I'm full of joy for all graduating seniors as they embark on their journey into the future. I invite my fellow board members to join me in extending our heartfelt congratulations to the high school graduating class of 2024 and in wishing them all the best as they continue their educational pursuits and journey. Last month, I was pleased to be invited to join a meeting of the Arizona Latino Legislative Caucus and provide an update on Arizona's public university. It was a wonderful opportunity to visit with members of the caucus and listen to their feedback. On behalf of the Arizona Board of Regents, I extend our appreciation to the members for leadership and commitment to higher education. Members, I'm grateful to share the many highlights of good outcomes that we celebrate with and at our public universities. I would like to say that being in the legislature and having this lunch and having to introduce me as the new chair make me feel different because sometimes we see them from far away, and we were able to have a conversation more than a meeting, and having a lunch and having able to speak bilingual make me feel more at home. As you know, English is my third language, so when I have to do English as a third language, I think twice and I make sure that everything flows. But when I have the opportunity to talk to this group and I was able to just share who I am, what we're doing, I feel like when I was talking to Regent Manson that it's easier, for everyone or for anyone who speaks English to do public speaking. And I've been doing public speaking in Spanish, so for me has been a challenge, but here I am, the first day of my board meeting as a chair, and I will do my best I can. So I want you to feel that. I'm very transparent, and I normally tell the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts, or the truth doesn't come out the way it is because I'm translating that from Chinese to English or from Spanish to English. So I just wanted to make that comment. So our first item is called to the audience. And I am also very fast. Okay, so if you see me running and rushing, so I'm trying to slow down now. So if you have any material for the regents, please give them to our board secretary, Suzanne Templing, sitting at the table in my left side, and she will distribute that to the regents. Pursuant to board policy, time has been set aside for a call to the audience. This is an opportunity for individuals to address the entire board in a public setting to express their views or concerns regarding matters of governance board. The board reserves the right to limit number of presenters on any one topic. Regents do not respond to comments made during the call to the audience. However, we do hear your remarks and we ask the appropriate person to follow up and provide us with information on any issues raised. When you are called to speak, please proceed to the lectern, and to keep us on schedule, each speaker has no more than 3 minutes. As a courtesy to each speaker, Suzanne will hold up a sign signaling how much time the speaker has remaining. At the end of your 3 minutes, we ask you to conclude your remarks. So Suzanne, can you call the first person?
Yes, thank you, Chair Mata. Our first speaker is Alyssa Sanchez, followed by Carly Vander.
Hello, members and chairs of the board. Today, I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity to speak with you on behalf of the student body at the University of Arizona. My name is Alyssa Sanchez. I use AS, she, her pronouns, and I am proud to serve as the ASUA student body president here at the University of Arizona. I stand before you today to advocate for the voices of 45,000 students who attend our university, as well as the graduate and professional student community. Our university is genuinely facing substantial challenges, including a financial crisis that demands prudent and inclusive decision-making. Despite our commitment to serving as a bridge between students and university leadership, our ability to fulfill this role has been limited. President Robbins has met with me less than 5 times this entire school year, despite past presidents meeting with him monthly. This lack of consistent dialogue undermines the representation of students' needs and concerns. And additional to this, the exclusion of ASUA and GPSC presidents from the search committee for the new university president is deeply troubling. As the elected leaders, our respective student bodies, our roles inherently represent the needs and perspectives of our peers. So by not including us in this very crucial conversation and decision-making process, the search committee overlooks the most effective means of ensuring student interests are addressed. This is a complete oversight that must be rectified, and our involvement in the search committee would bring invaluable insight into the student experience. So we ensure that the university's next leader understands the challenges and aspirations of our diverse student body. Additionally, when leadership fails, the impact should be first felt by the highest point of leadership. However, at the University of Arizona, the impact has been felt by everyone except the highest point of leadership. This is a significant concern, once again, as it suggests that decisions are not made with the best interests of the entire university community in mind. So I urge ABOR to immediately address this exclusion by inviting both ASUA and GPSC presidents to join the search committee. We must be present at the table and part of the conversation to ensure that students' voices do not fall through the cracks and go unheard. So in conclusion, I implore you to prioritize student representation in all major decisions, including the selection of the university's next president. Our involvement is essential to the future success and well-being of the University of Arizona. So thank you for your time and attention, and I hope you will join me in advocating for the voices of students to be heard and respected as we navigate these challenges. And I also hope that my university, where I come from, where I'm natively from, also respects student voices, because we are moving towards a business rather than focusing on education. So thank you.
Carly Vander, followed by Maria Amelia Marchler.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Carly Vandermersch. I'm a senator and the president-elect for the 2024-2025 Associate Students of Northern Arizona's student government. We, the students and their representatives, ask you to consider the detrimental effects of the House Bill 2178 last session. You can imagine our disappointment to learn that our requests were not heard and that this bill was recently signed by Governor Hobbs. Without sufficient funds, our student government cannot continue to advocate for our students. While the signed bill was amended, and students have the opportunity to select one or more student organizations or clubs to which their money may not be allocated, this bill still makes our advocacy efforts more restricted and access to resources more scarce for students. We commend the change in language and thank the regents for their due diligence. But imagine the impacts that this will have on our minority-led clubs. For students who identify as racial or ethnic minorities, who identify as part of historically underrepresented communities, or for those who do not see people who look like themselves at the table, this bill is detrimental to the ability of these groups to have their voices heard. The average student will elect not to fund these groups, but instead to funnel money into well-known organizations that are not in desperate need of funding. We, the associate students of Northern Arizona University, are confident that the Board of Regents is aware of the potential impacts such a policy will have on all the students at all three of the state universities. As a student representative for our university, our motto is "Because of the student, we exist." As the student representation here, we implore you to consider how this bill would significantly decrease our ability to provide students with vital resources such as access to healthcare, equitable funding, scholarship opportunities, free graduation regalia, legal counsel, and much more. Because of this bill, these opportunities might cease to exist. Thank you.
Maria Amalia Martler, followed by Hypatia Maranglia.
Good afternoon, members of the board. We met earlier this year, but to do some reintroductions, my name is Maria Emilia Mackler, and I'm currently the ASNAU president for NAU's undergraduate student government. In light of our 2023-2024 school year coming to a close, I wanted to highlight a very significant and impactful annual event held by NAU, Giving Day. Giving Day is a highly participatory event at NAU and a continuous project of the lumberjack community that they continue to uphold. Giving Day enters all corners of campus, from academic programs and experimental learning opportunities. The support from this day extends to all corners of lumberjack life, from research groups to student clubs and organizations. Just a couple weeks ago, on April 3rd, Northern Arizona University celebrated their 6th annual Giving Day. The lumberjack country of families, staff, faculty, students, and vital community supporters helped raise over $791K on this Giving Day. As an NAU student worker and ambassador of my organization's fundraising efforts, I value the contributions and support given to the students of the NAU community. Seeing the care and appreciation that many of those around us hold makes me even more hopeful for the future of our institution's education program and efforts. ASNAU, the Associated Students of NAU, whom I represent, and so my team, fundraise efforts for our Equity and Access Fund. Students have shown a large concern for barriers presented to obtaining personal assistive devices and other forms of medical assistance. The creation of this fund, ASNAU Equity and Access Fund, hopes to provide students with a financial assistance necessary to purchase these costly devices and/or pay for services. It is with high hopes that these contributions will assist to their collegiate experience. ASNAU hopes to support a positive impact on education and transition into the workforce to those who choose to pursue it. With donations from family members, fellow NAU faculty and staff, and other NAU students, we will be able to open up our application this fall for students to apply on a first comes, first served basis for a chance to receive assistive devices and/or assistance for their educational career. We, alongside many other student groups on campus, have created our passion projects and goals. It has amazed me to see effort put towards these different fundraising efforts, such as NAU Skate Club, raising money to build a skate park, to NAU Medical Brigades, raising money to send students to send a medical brigade in Honduras. One can see how far and wide the lumberjack community extends its impact. Some of these crowdfunding sites remain open till the end of this month, and I encourage you all to check them out and stay up to date on these efforts to see how NAU continuously breaks barriers and sets up future classes for success, elevating excellence one project at a time. Thank you for your time.
Hypatia Maranglia, followed by Ree Williams.
I'm Hypatia Mediva. I'm a grad student at ASU and I'm transgender. This board in front of you doesn't care an ounce about the safety of their queer students and employees. Last year alone, 3 separate acts of harassment on queer students and workers by Turning Point USA members have come to light. Most recently on Dr. David Boyles at ASU, who was physically assaulted by TPUSA affiliates on campus and then hospitalized. Our union wrote a petition to remove TPUSA from campus, received over 700 signatures, and I hand fucking delivered it to y'all 5 months ago. This board, this unelected, silk-suited, wonder-bread board, and ASU leadership responded in a move which I'm sure shocked us all by doing jack squat, nothing. Didn't commit resources to helping queer students, didn't improve our insurance policy so that we could get life-saving mental health care and gender-affirming care, didn't speak out against HB 2178, which will likely defund queer student organizations when it passed the House, and sure as hell didn't enforce the student handbook on Turning Point USA. What Crow did do is write a strongly worded letter in which he says, ASU will do all that we can to end the bullying and intimidation. Empty promises, empty words, lying like a rug. Every day, I and my queer colleagues go to work on our campus, we are in danger. We're tired of the we see you and the we hear you. We don't want your sympathy, we want safety. Do your job or we will replace you.
Ree Williams, followed by Holly Thomas.
Good afternoon. My name is Ree Williams. I'm an undergraduate at the University of Arizona, a member of the United Campus Workers, and the president of UAZ Divest. The climate crisis is one of the greatest challenges facing our world today, and the University of Arizona has a critical role to play in addressing this global threat. As the only public university in Arizona without a climate action plan, UArizona has a responsibility to its students, faculty, and the broader Tucson community to take immediate action. Arizona is on the front lines of the climate crisis, experiencing the worst impacts of drought, extreme heat, and wildfires. As a leading institution of higher education in the state, UArizona has a significant influence on the region's sustainability and long-term economic prospects. Implementing a comprehensive climate action plan is not just an environmental imperative, but also a strategic investment in the university's future and the well-being of the communities it serves. Unfortunately, UArizona has delayed the implementation of its climate action plan due to the ongoing fiscal crisis. This decision is deeply concerning, and it demonstrates a disconnect between the university's stated commitment to sustainability and the actions it is taking. Delaying the climate action plan sends a troubling message about the administration, the trust and credibility that the university has worked hard to build with its community. We firmly believe that the climate action plan and the university's financial action plan are not mutually exclusive. Not only was the climate action plan made with consideration for the UA's fiscal concerns, but evidence suggests that investing in sustainability and climate action can have a significant financial benefit for the university. According to the University of California's Office of the Chief Investments Officer, since divesting from fossil fuels, its assets under management grew by $10 billion, a 47% increase since 2014. Furthermore, the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis has found that divestment from fossil fuels can be achieved without financial repercussions, highlighting the instability of these investments. Divestment from fossil fuels can serve as a defensive mechanism, protecting the university from the growing instability of unsustainable investments. Additionally, environmental sustainability can play a significant factor in enrollment considerations. A student voice survey conducted by Inside Higher Ed found that across 114 colleges and universities, 45% of respondents considered environmental sustainability in their college enrollment decision. Students, faculty, and community members came together to help in the creation of this climate action plan, and they are still invested in its successful implementation. The university's climate action plan could be executed through a variety of approaches, such as phased implementation or other modified strategies. However, increased community cooperation and communication will be critical for the successful implementation of this plan. A proactive and comprehensive follow-through will not only help the university fulfill its obligations, but also aid in rebuilding its credibility and trust that have been affected in recent months. The UA's most recent strategic plan outlines the initiative to elevate UA as a distinguished university and leader in sustainability. We believe the path to reach that goal is through the Climate Action Plan, and we urge its immediate implementation. We hope that the University of Arizona will act in the best interests of itself, its students, and its community members, and the world's future. Thank you.
Holly Thomas, followed by Medavoy.
See if this works. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Holly Thomas. I am a member of the Campus Labor Union. I am a PhD student in the Geoscience Department, and I study climate science. I'm here today to urge the regents and the administration to do everything in their power to ensure that the campus sustainability plan is reinstated and progresses as proposed for a carbon neutral campus by 2040. As I'm sure you all know, we are ranked number 2 and number 4 nationally in water resources and earth science, respectively. Some of the world's best climate scientists and adaptation specialists are employed by this university. And while we're all researching climate from slightly different angles, there is one elegant, essentially universally agreed upon doctrine within our field, and that is to avoid climate catastrophe, we must reduce fossil fuel emissions by as much as possible, as soon as possible. Just last week, the UN climate chief, Simon Steele, warned us, not hyperbolically, that we have about 2 years to take dramatic action before the situation becomes so much harder to reverse. We know the stakes, the science is there, and yet our leaders are still somehow not listening. I'm not excited about being here. I'd much rather be doing my research. I never aspired to fill the role of a disaster movie scientist, begging those in power to do something, anything, about a well-understood and looming catastrophe, but I believe we have a responsibility to advocate for future generations. I'm not necessarily appealed to your logic. That doesn't seem to be working. I am here because I want to explain to you what it feels like to be a climate scientist at an institution that has decided that actually climate can wait. In tabling the Climate Action Plan, the University of Arizona has effectively signaled to me and my colleagues that our research is obsolete, that what we're doing is purely symbolic, intended only to bolster the university's reputation and land us flashy national rankings, that the very core of our field is not, in fact, important enough to take seriously, that the longevity of this institution and, frankly, our ecological and economic systems is less important than maintaining sparkling multi-million-dollar sports complexes and continuing to pay lame duck upper administration six-figure salaries. In doing so, the university undermines not only my and my colleagues' research and the work that went into crafting the Climate Action Plan, but the integrity of this institution. How can you proudly tout national rankings while disregarding the fundamental research of the individuals who earned it? We are here, we are being told that tabling the Climate Action Plan is a consequence of the financial crisis, which marks yet another cruel instance of the consequences of the actions of a select few being shouldered onto others. I realize that in standing here before you, a group of individuals who will likely never directly experience the climate crisis or will observe it safely from within the confines of wealth, I'm asking you to act in the interest of those beyond yourselves, but I am asking nonetheless. I am also asking you to consider carefully the implications of inaction for our university's future. The claim we cannot afford climate action right now is gravely overshadowed by the actual reality of the situation, which is that we truly cannot afford inaction. Without immediate and dramatic climate action, there will be no University of Arizona. Financial plans and strategic investing are obsolete on a scorched planet in a state without water. I know the logistics are challenging and the money sparse, but I implore you to do everything in your power to ensure that our climate action plan progresses as planned. I find it impossible to imagine that regents of an academic institution whose core mission is to equip future generations with the skills to build a better world do not maintain at least a little hope for the future. Thus, I would like to end by reminding you that those who truly believe in a better future have an obligation to fight for it. Thank you.
Medavoy, followed by Michael Shihak.
Dear Regents, campus community members, good afternoon. My name is Lee Medavoy. I'm a professor and former head of the Department of English here. The reason I came today is that I was dumbfounded to hear CFO John Arnold's suggestion that U of A's $177 million budget shortfall results from overspending by the academic units. And I wanted to make you aware of how malnourished most academic units at UA are compared to a decade ago. So I'd like to share the example of my department. When I got to UA in 2014, our budget for tenure stream faculty and staff salaries was $4.6 million. Today, $3.1 million. Then we were a legacy R1 department. We had regents and university professors with international fame, but also promising young hires. Today, half that size, from 56 to 28 faculty, 21 consecutive retirements with only 2 regular national searches. Are we anomalous? The Faculty Financial Recalibration Committee says no. Since 2016, tenure stream hiring at UA dropped from 17 to 10% of the total. In our writing program, which teaches the entire freshman class, base lecturer salary in 2014 was $42,500. A decade later, $44,500. Counting inflation, their income has dropped. Teaching, meanwhile, has gone up from 86 to 100 students. Staff, from 11 to 8. They're massively overworked. Graduate students, cut almost in half. Our entire college froze graduate admissions the year before last. So in what fantasy world are academic units like mine overspending? Mine is down $2.5 million from 2014. Where did those dollars go? Transferred to other units in our college? No, our entire college has faced these cuts. Anthropology, history, sociology, all smaller. Nobody's hiring. Did the money go to another college? No college is growing as fast as we are shrinking. The answer? The money was squeezed out of our college by way of RCM and AIB budget models. The money went to Central. There it built new offices of vice provosts and vice presidents. It bailed out athletics. It discounted out-of-state tuition. But it was taken away. It was sucked out of our core mission, teaching, research, and service. Dear Regents, let's not cut the classrooms, the labs, and the libraries anymore. Let's cut the sectors that don't actually educate anybody and don't actually produce knowledge. Let's invest in the ones that do. Let's make our university a place where people are proud to work. Please work with the faculty, the staff, and the students through our shared governance mechanisms so we can put our budget back in the service of the public good. Thank you very much.
Michael Shyhack, followed by Marcos Esparza.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Chihak. I'm a University of Arizona alumnus, and I chair the U of A School of Journalism Advisory Council. I worked for 45 years as a newsman before retiring. Our council has members who are alumni and donors advocating for the school and for the people's right to know through the free press. I speak today for myself and not for the council or for the school. The people's right to know is a key tenet of democracy. The School of Journalism upholds democracy by teaching students to be watchdogs of public institutions. As watchdogs, our alumni have won Pulitzer Prizes, Edward R. Murrow Awards, Emmy Awards, and many other honors. They've reached the pinnacles of the news industry. The School of Journalism starts many careers that fulfill the people's right to know. And in doing so, that right to know is now manifest in news reporting on this Board of Regents' failure to oversee Robert Robbins as he mismanaged our university's finances. Your failure includes Regent Fred Duvall irresponsibly and impetuously declaring full support for the U of A president, after which the Free Press revealed gross mismanagement and mendacity. Those revelations undermined your declaration of support, sir. Full support is moot now because Robert Robbins has submitted his resignation. Yet he remains in charge, and his continued presence clouds the university's reputation. Lift the cloud now by naming an interim president. There is precedence for this. In 2011, the Regents named an interim president after Robert Shelton resigned. Right now, name a good campus administrator as caretaker of the university while you seek another president. Doing so can put Robert Robbins and his mismanagement behind us sooner rather than later, and it might restore some of the credibility you lost through your oversight failures. Then search for a new president openly, not in secret. Keep in mind that the people have a right to know what you are doing. Stop holding closed meetings about the search. Don't keep it secret, and don't prevaricate about it. Keep in mind that news reporters, including those educated at the U of A School of Journalism, will continue digging for details on what you are doing. Finally, keep in mind that the people's right to know will prevail. The free press will be watching and reporting what you do, as is its responsibility to democracy.
Marcos Esparza, followed by Joshua Lieberman.
Hello, my name is Marcos Esparza. I'm a graduate student here at the University of Arizona. I'm here to talk about financial insecurity among grad students and staff. From a survey conducted by Graduate and Professional Student Council, or GPSC, in spring 2022, it was found that among graduate students, 70% of respondents rated themselves as being extremely or very financially stressed. 74% could not or could barely come up with $1,000 in case of a financial emergency since starting their graduate programs. 63% of students have had to take on additional student loans for their education and or living expenses. 52% of graduate students had to forego mental health care half or more of the time in the last year, and 35% of graduate students chose to skip meals or have unhealthy options for food because they couldn't afford healthy food or enough food. This is unacceptable. The minimum hourly wage for staff is $15 here at the U of A is $15 an hour, and that is not even considering contractors at the U of A who may make less and are less likely to have benefits. Due to the raise in cost of living in Tucson and across the state, according to MIT's living wage calculator, the appropriate living wage for a person in Tucson without children to meet their needs is $20 an hour, and in Phoenix and Flagstaff, it's as high as $25 an hour. It's not hard to understand those survey results. This was the situation prior to the financial crisis caused by the U of A Central Administration and this Board of Regents. In that time, the administration has implemented a raise freeze, a hiring freeze, the beginning of layoffs university-wide, and a planned increase in tuition costs that is being discussed at today's meeting. These changes have obviously made students and staff more financially precarious and has had wider negative effects on Tucson as a whole, given the crucial role the university plays in this city. While students and staff face this precarity, those responsible have mostly been able to avoid any of these consequences. Previous university CFO, Lisa Rolney, resigned, but we quickly learned that she would be keeping an advisory position with the same $500,000 per year salary she had previously. Similarly, Director of Athletics David Heeks was fired, but was guaranteed his $875,000 a year. This Board of Regents is looking for financial security among grad students and staff. This Board of Regents is looking for financial security among grad students and staff in multiple ways. This Board of Regents rubber stamped the steps that got us into this financial crisis and is clear is incapable of finding the right people to get us out of it. Chop from the top.
Joshua Lieberman, followed by Charlie.
My name is Joshua Lieberman. I am a graduate student at the University of Arizona, and I will be presenting the following statement on behalf of Sedona, a fellow graduate student. As a graduate student, teaching assistant, and administrative GA, I've seen the waves of fear and confusion resulting from the budget crisis hit my professors, program staff, and undergraduate students. I was heartened to see representation on the Presidential Search Advisory Committee for each of those groups in Monday's announcement email. I was concerned, however, that graduate students have no voice in the search process. Does ABOR not value the contributions of over 10,000 graduate students to the research, teaching, and community engagement efforts of the university? I urge you to rectify this omission and add a graduate student to the search committee. Thank you.
Charlie, followed by Drew Stanley.
Hi, my name is Charlie. My pronouns are they, them, and alongside being a double major at NAU, I work as a community assistant for gender inclusive housing. Trans, non-binary, and gender diverse students that each and every one of you allow to be harassed, discriminated against, and physically harmed. Alongside working countless hours supporting students through the violence you all act like doesn't happen, I'm also a desk assistant and a research assistant. About 1 year ago, I spoke at one of these meetings for the first time about my concerns as a student worker, and I can finally say I'm a proud member of UCWAZ. Although I only have a few weeks left in my roles at NAU, I'm so excited for the student workers after me who will always have the representation of this wall-to-wall, complete AZ University Union. However, I am disappointed to say I'm here to once again ask for an end to student fees for student workers. By continuing to require students who run your universities to pay for things such as the tech they have to use or the buses they drive, you are telling them you do not value their work. By forcing student staff on financial aid to pay the financial trust fee, you are saying you would rather steal from their hard work than make sure they feel supported and stress-free while they work multiple jobs on top of being full-time students. I shouldn't have to pay a health and wellness fee when this job has worsened my disabilities and my medical bills have tripled. And who's to say if it was the trauma, the stress, the mold, the asbestos, or getting electrocuted, which is actually common amongst campus living staff. You say you care about making education accessible while you pay students some minimum wage and steal at least $1,000 a year. Do you realize who is working these jobs? Do you think students will find jobs after graduating that value them when you refuse to? It's embarrassing that the universities rely on the salaries of student workers who run them when the university presidents make over $500,000, get six-figure bonuses, and get free trips to basketball games across the country. I can't even afford to get groceries. I'm once again asking that a board end this mismanagement of money on top of all the other ones and value the people who allow you to make these decisions. Thank you.
Drew Stanet, followed by Betsy Putman Hidalgo.
Thank you, Regents. My name is Drew Stanley. I'm a sophomore at Northern Arizona University and a representative of the Arizona Students Association. You all know that our higher education system should live up to the promise in our state constitution that tuition should be as nearly free as possible. The state legislature has continually failed to fulfill this promise by deprioritizing access to a free higher education over the last 20 years, and you have enabled them to do so. Whenever they take away money from higher education, you respond by raising tuition, pulling more and more of the financial burden on students rather than the state. 2 months ago, I, along with students from all three public universities in Arizona, we journeyed to the state capitol for our annual Youth Empowerment Summit. There, we lobbied our state legislatures to back efforts designed to properly fund higher education in Arizona by funding the Arizona Promise Program. And so now we come to you as the decision regarding tuition increases and fees are upon you with an even simpler message. Any decision that you make today to increase these tuition and fees for your students is unacceptable. In your 2021 report on food and housing insecurity at public universities in Arizona, you noted that 26% of ASU students, 47% of NAU students, and 35% of University of Arizona students have either low or very low food security. That means 1 out of every 3 public university students in Arizona is dealing with this issue. Since then, both ASU and U of A have failed to meet objectives that they set for themselves back in 2023. In 2022, for example, ASU's Student Crisis Fund had offered $142,000 to assist students, and yet that number dropped to $89,000 in 2023. The goals set for university presidents that give them a chance to earn bonuses are never related to improving the lives of the students they already have. You have thousands of students right now who are going without food. On-campus resources like Campus Pantry are not enough to address this issue. If you're going to set goals for presidents, we should be talking about reducing the number of students reporting food insecurity or doubling the amount distributed by the Student Crisis Fund. The fact that there is a considerable increase in the cost of meal plans shows that you have accepted the fact that some students will just have to suffer because you can't be bothered to address the tough issues. In this same report that I mentioned, 14% of ASU students, 19% of NAU students, and 8% of U of A students were experiencing housing insecurity. While there are different resources available to students on each campus, they tend to be underfunded and not widely known by the larger student body. And yet, you also wish to increase the cost of on-campus housing. This will only continue to decrease accessibility and affordability for higher education. ASA has had the privilege of meeting with board staff in the past to discuss the need for disability and mental health resources on our campuses. In order to finish their degrees and truly feel welcomed at Arizona's universities, students must have access to the things that they need. I ask that you please keep all students in mind as you continue to fight for increasing these resources. We look forward to continuing our work with the Board of Regents and seeing how we can support all of our students. If there are any ways that ASA can help or support the board, please do let us know. Thank you.
Betsy Putnam Hidalgo, followed by Johan Rafalsi.
Thank you. It's actually Bets Putnam Hidalgo. So I just want to bring a community perspective to this. I am a graduate from this university from many years ago, as you might be able to tell. I did an undergraduate and a master's program here, and my son then went here much more recently. From a community perspective, what an embarrassment. What an embarrassment. The entire country knows about the fact that Arizona University, Arizona U of A, did not know that it had a budget problem, and once it had a budget problem, started chopping from the bottom. What a huge surprise. That is horrifying to me because I'm a graduate, horrifying to me for my son because he's a graduate, and I urge you to do something about the problem that does not include the person who caused it. I totally agree with the idea that this person, that President Robbins ought to leave immediately, and should not be sending emails out saying, hey, guess what? 110,000 million whatever dollars of our debt has gone away, and we promise that it will come from the administration. Where is the chopping happening at the administration? We are not seeing it. We in the community are not seeing it. Furthermore, just to get a little more local, you have terrific professors. We heard earlier about what wonderful schools all of your schools are. I know the U of A has an incredible brain trust, and it blows my mind to think that you are not using that for shared governance. These are the best and the brightest. That's what university offers us, is the best and the brightest. So the idea that you would create your own separate committee so that you didn't have to listen to the faculty senate is outrageous. These are the people who are affected by the decisions that you make, affected by the decisions that are made by the university, and they should be at the table. They should be at the table right next door to their union brothers and sisters who should also be at the table. You don't exist without students, and you don't exist without professors. Those are the people you need to help you solve this problem. I urge you to use what you have created in your brain trust. Don't pay outside people to do the work that you can get done right here, and listen to your own community. Thank you.
Johan Rafeshi, followed by Mark Stagman.
I have been here 34 years as member of faculty of University of Arizona. I speak usually and only for myself. I joined shared governance process 6 years ago, since it was the only path to bring some responsibility to what I saw grow. We joined the race to the bottom of the pit of administrative bloat. Bloat has three elements. One is the number of people, the second is the level of pay, and the third one is qualification. A highly qualified person may be paid anything because the person generates income. However, University of Arizona joined the national race and now has won it. We have a problem which was yesterday very visible in statistics I have seen in the budget committee I also got elected to. We have a serious problem that our expenditure on non-teaching but administration breaks records in comparison to other schools. We are getting better now, but this damage remains. There's accumulated loss of capital, and there's still ongoing 5% excess of administrative bloat. And I think the accountability cannot stop at the very top. I don't even know that the top people are responsible for the bloat. The reality is that the bloat is generated by the wide scope of top-level appointees, vice presidents, vice everything, who know the system and remain the system while the top is changed. So if we do not introduce method of accountability for the administrative bloat, it will be right there with us, and as soon as the crisis has passed, it will resurface and grow again. If we want a change, we need to address this question by introducing administrative accountability and method to implement it. I don't even know that people I watch in these various committees know to count. They would not pass Math 101, and they handle millions of dollars, $100 million. I don't even know that they can multiply 8 times 8. It's a serious remark. I want ABO to remember that we have a problem of not only of a number, of the level of pay, but also of qualification, math qualification among the people who should know how to count. Thank you very much for your attention.
Mark Stagman, followed by Leila Hudson.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Stagman. I teach in the Eller College of Management. Last month, I came to speak to you about the University of Arizona's nascent civics program and to give you a copy of a required report that U of A's ad hoc faculty committee on general education had submitted to the Faculty Senate in February. In the end, I spoke about something else, and you received the report without the context of my intended remarks. My main remark is that we are excited about UA's potential implementation of your civics mandate. The opinion is not unanimous, but I have many colleagues at U of A who share your concern about the state of civics education in the United States, including the skill of civil discourse, and believe that the direction you have set is needed and appropriate. Some of us have been concerned about the slow speed of implementation of civics at U of A, and some of you may recall receiving a couple of letters about that almost 3 years ago. This concern reappeared last year when U of A's Civics Task Force, which was charged with helping to develop the structure of the civics curriculum, stopped meeting for what is now nearly a year. But I am here to speak only with enthusiasm about a redoubled effort to add an excellent civics curriculum to U of A's general education program. This will take some time as we are collectively still working to develop the basic curriculum and policy structure for civics and to bring it through the required internal approval processes before existing and new courses can be approved for civics and implementation begin. But no one is eager to bring this to fruition than I am, and I speak for many. And we believe, moreover, that this can be done with a high degree of internal consensus. Thanks again for starting us down this important path, and I am convinced that at the end, U of A can have a civics program that not only complies with your policy, but can serve without exaggeration as a model for the state and the nation. Thank you.
Our final speaker, Leila Hudson.
Thank you all for being here and giving us the opportunity to speak. And a warm welcome especially to the new chair of the Board of Regents, Regent Mata. Members of the University of Arizona faculty, staff, and students and community have expressed to me deep disappointment and even outrage with the composition of the Presidential Search Committee announced yesterday. The Board of Regents bypassed the expected, but also the common sense consultation with the elected faculty leadership We have a statutory obligation, but also an obligation of conscience, an obligation of community, and the know-how and expertise to participate actively in matters of governance and policy of our university. Despite the inclusion on the committee of several highly respected colleagues who have served in various elected roles in faculty shared governance bodies, these members of the committee were not nominated by those bodies and do not represent the diversity of the university or those bodies. The composition of the Presidential Search Committee raises new questions about ABOR's commitment to democracy, academic freedom, inclusion, and freedom of speech at the University of Arizona. To be clear, these are not just traditions that have earned our place in the ranks of the American Association of Universities. They are the core values that ensure our land-grant and public mission to serve diverse communities and interests in research, teaching, innovation, and outreach. For nearly a century and a half, these values have elevated our institution and made it exceptional. The current composition of the committee is not representative of any axis of the diversity of the faculty, staff, and students at the University of Arizona. There are, to be frank, too many loyal friends and battle-tested defenders of the current president who have been hand-picked, supporters of some of his administration's most questionable initiatives, including the ill-advised University Advisory Council, hastily established last month to provide a simulacrum and a fig leaf of shared governance, the clumsy and costly Ashford-UAGC merger, and the non-transparent approach to the financial mismanagement crisis of the administration's making. This disproportionate selection of members of the committee known for aiding and shielding the current president's dubious ventures foreshadows future concerns. The current and ongoing crises at the university were in significant part created by a blind trust on the part of ABOR in the current administration and its allies, and the determined exclusion of the views and voices of those of us who were elected to represent the people who make the University of Arizona work. ABOR and our administration have ignored and in some cases retaliated against the people who questioned the disastrous policies of the last few years. The vetting and hiring of the next president must set our institution on a different path. An adequate and legitimate representation of the faculty is critical to this existential project. We stand ready to nominate additional faculty, staff, and students through the Senate and other democratically elected shared governance bodies to the search committee and to consult with the new chair of ABOR and indeed the full board to bring the search committee into appropriate partnership with the people and academic mission of the University of Arizona. Thank you for listening, and I hope next time I talk to you, it will be for longer than 3 minutes and not with the public as the elected chair of the faculty of the University of Arizona. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Mata.
Thank you, everyone, for your remarks. Next, the board is asked to approve the consent agenda items on the consent agenda that includes items 11 to 26. Does anyone have any conflict to declare on items 11 to 26 scheduled for consent? Here none. I move that the board approve items 11 to 26 as listed on the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries. On April 4th, the University Governance and Operations Committee discussed the 2024-2025 academic fee proposals from Arizona State University, Northern Arizona University. This gave the committee the opportunity to take a deeper dive into the President's recommendations and gain a better understanding of the request before us today. The University of Arizona did not have any new fees or changes to existing fees. However, they are presenting a technical adjustment and clarification to tuition and fees that the board approved at its November 2023 meeting. A tuition hearing was held on April 9th that allowed for public comment on the proposals. The hearing was set up as a virtual hearing. We had just 2 individuals speak at the hearing and approximately 150 viewers through our live stream. We have also received written comments from the public. We appreciate and thank you for those who took the time to provide their feedback. We know our university presidents are working diligently to ensure our university are as efficient as possible and that we stay committed to access and affordability. Today, the board is asked to set academic fees for Arizona State University and Northern Arizona University for the 2024-25 academic year and to reapprove the University of Arizona graduate tuition rate in order to clarify the total increase for the purpose of eliminating mandatory fees. Before we proceed with the motions, I will ask each of the presidents to briefly comment on their proposals, and we will start first with President Crow, who will provide the remarks.
Thank you, Regent Mata. So our fee proposal is very simple. We are proposing no new fee adjustments for undergraduate students. We are proposing 19 new program fees for graduate programs. Graduate programs operate under the policy of this board, where we are operating these activities on what we call a market basis. We keep our fee and tuition structures below market, that is of comparable universities, and in this case we're making several minor fee adjustments, and in several cases these are whole new programs for which the board has to approve the entire fee structure. There's nothing unusual in this, and it is consistent with our overall logic where we remain a very affordable, very accessible institution at all levels.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for President Crow? Here none. We have the next. President Cruz Rivera, would you please provide your remarks for NAU?
Similarly to ASU, our fee updates are minimal and in part correspond to structural changes with the creation of a College of Nursing, elevated from a School of Nursing. So I will ask our CFO, Bjorn, to provide more details.
Thank you, President Cruz Rivera, members of the board. As President Cruz Rivera mentioned, our fee proposals stem largely from the announcement of the transition of the School of Nursing into a College of Nursing. We are setting a new college fee for that College of Nursing. We have 3 graduate program fees that have not been changed in over a decade in the College of Nursing that we are making adjustments for. And we have 1 new fee that we are establishing within the College of Business, the Franke College of Business, for our business analytics program. Let me stop there and see if there's any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Bjorn? Bjorn, thank you very much, President Cruz Rivera. Thank you. And we have President Robbins, will you provide any remarks for the University of Arizona?
Chair Mata and Regents, thank you for the opportunity to share the details of our proposal today, which is really only covers a small technical change for what was already set in December. Each year, university leadership consults with undergraduate and graduate student leaders to develop our tuition proposal. Despite the continued impact of inflation, our tuition set last December contains no increases for continuing undergraduate students and modest increases for new students during the 24-25 academic year. Additionally, our plan is to roll out existing mandatory fees into a new student engagement fee for undergraduates and for tuition for graduate students. This will simplify fees for undergraduates and allow our graduate students to maximize the amount of financial aid they can apply to tuition. The small clarification we propose today is to keep the Arizona Financial Aid Trust fee separate from both the undergraduate students' engagement fee and from graduate tuition. Given AFAT is a fee levied by the board, we must maintain it as a standard fee. Outside of that small change, all other components of our previously announced tuition and fees proposal remains unchanged. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for President Robin? Hear none? So I would like to begin the motions. If there's any objection, I will proceed as follow. So I haven't heard anything. So we will have one motion per university to approve the proposed academic fees and technical adjustment. And by statute, a roll call vote is required on the tuition and fees motions. We will take one university at a time and vote on all their proposals. With that, let us move to the tuition items, and we will start with ASU. As it relates to academic fees at Arizona State University, I move that the board approve ASU program fees as requested by ASU in its proposal and presented in the executive summary. This includes establishing 19 new graduate program fee across 8 colleges, which includes the College of Health Solutions, the College of Integrative Science and Arts, the Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation, the Herberger Institute of Design and Arts, the new College of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the Watts College of Public Services and Community Solutions, and the W.P. Carey School of Business. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Here no, we have a motion and a second. Suzanne, please do the call vote.
Thank you, Chair Mata. Regent Brewster.
Aye.
Regent Manson.
Aye.
Regent Duval.
Aye.
Regent Penley.
Aye.
Regent Pacheco. Regent Goodyear.
Aye.
Regent Reese. Superintendent Horn.
Yes.
That is 9 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Oh, Chair Mata. Sorry.
Aye.
That is 9 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Thank you. Turning now to Northern Arizona University. As it relates to academic fees at Northern Arizona University, I move that the board approve NAU's college fees as requested by NAU in its proposal and presented in the executive summary. This includes increasing the fee for the College of Enrollment, Forestry, and Natural Sciences from Tier 1 to Tier 2, reflecting substantial increases in the cost of those programs, and establishing a college fee for the new standalone College of Nursing at the Tier 3 college fee level. Also approve NAU's program fees, which include increasing 3 existing graduate nursing program fees and establishing 1 new graduate program fee for business analytics. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Here none, we have a motion and a second. Suzanne, please do the roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair Mata. Regent Brewster.
Aye.
Regent Manson.
Aye.
Regent Duval.
Aye.
Regent Penley.
Aye.
Regent Pacheco. Regent Goodyear.
Aye.
Regent Reese. Superintendent Horn.
Yes.
Chair Mata.
Aye.
That is 9 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. Turning now to the University of Arizona. As it relates to tuition and mandatory fees at the University of Arizona, I move that the board increase the University of Arizona's 2024-25 resident graduate-based tuitions from $12,718 to $4,738, which exceeds the maximum annual growth rate established by the board as requested by the University of Arizona in its proposal and presented in the executive summary. This change will allow the university to eliminate $1,555 in mandatory fees for graduate students, amounting to a net increase of 3.3% over 2023-2024 tuition. The Arizona Financial Aid Trust fee that is required by ABOR will remain separate. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Here no, we have a motion and a second. Suzanne, please do the roll call vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Mata. Regent Brewster.
Aye.
Regent Manson.
Aye.
Regent Duval.
Aye.
Regent Penley.
Aye.
Regent Pacheco. Regent Goodyear.
Aye.
Regent Reese. Superintendent Horn. Chair Mata.
Aye.
That is 9 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. This concludes the setting of academic fees for the 2024-2025 academic year. We'll now move on item 3 with an update on the Arizona Promise program. So our next item will be presented by Sarah Harper from the Arizona Board of Regents, and will provide an update of the 2024 marketing campaign to increase awareness of the Arizona Promise program, as well as an update on the board's newly launched college planning website, College Ready Arizona. Do I have, where's Sarah?
She's right straight ahead.
I'm so sorry, Sarah. Yeah, please, the stage is just yours.
Regents, for this opportunity. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity to join you today and share updates on the board's awareness campaign for the Promise program and engagement with the board's new college planning website, College Ready AZ. Outcomes to date are good, but our journey towards increasing awareness around the Promise scholarship and the importance of college planning remains an ongoing priority. Our hope is that the engagement of both creating awareness for both the initiatives reaches and resonates with more students and families and helps to convey that college is not only possible but within reach. Okay, so last December, the board launched a digital campaign to create awareness of the Promise program with funding provided by the state so more students and families are aware. The campaign also is targeted to educators and counselors who are a crucial link to providing information about planning for and affording college. The campaign is running across multiple social media and online platforms, including Meta, Spotify, YouTube, Snapchat, and LinkedIn. We also use paid search and online display ads. All of these ads are directing to the new website, which is the College Ready AZ website, with a specific web page for the Promise program. Across all platforms and all audiences, we've seen exceptional performance, and the campaign is delivering above benchmark across the board. So to date, we've had nearly 65 million impressions. That's December to March. And for context, an impression refers to the number of times that pieces of content is shown to a given user. The campaign has also surpassed industry benchmarks in click-through rates. So we've seen strong engagements in that area as well. This slide gives you a little bit of an idea of how the campaign is performing by targeted audience. So you can see that for our middle school students, we had about 4 million impressions, high school students 21 million, parents 21 million, and teachers 19 million. There's a gap between the reach that we have with our middle school students and high school. So as we work further on this campaign, we'll look at ways at how we better reach our younger students. And we know that we want to reach our younger students more because getting the message to them sooner is going to make a difference. So this slide just gives you an idea of the top campaign sources where our targeted audiences are receiving their information. Snapchat remains one of our top campaign sources across all of our audiences. And the #1 source for parents is LinkedIn. We thought that might be Meta, but it turns out that it's LinkedIn. I would share also that we've had several thousand individuals who have gone to the Promise webpage and requested more information. So they can go there, they can click which university they want information about, and then the universities can engage with them and start a communication journey with those students. So going forward, we're pleased with the campaign so far. We will continue to analyze data to make sure that the campaign is resonating with our audiences, and we're looking at ways that we can enhance the user experience. So for example, We want to create new landing pages specifically for parents, specifically for students, specifically for counselors. We think that will help us hone our messaging and our communication and also potentially increase the click-through rates. So this is just an update about the new college planning website, College Ready AZ. This was launched in December at the same time that we launched the marketing campaign for Promise. This is a website that's been years in the making. We've worked with our university partners on this, and the vision was to create a one-stop shop where students and families could find all the information they need to plan for and apply to college at Arizona's public universities. So the universities certainly all have this information on their websites as well, but this site helps to bundle some of that information and, again, just provides a one-stop shop, and also helps us when we're doing Promise campaigns to have one place to direct people. As of this week, this site is now fully in Spanish as well, so we're very happy about that. Since the site launched in the end of December, we've had 325,000 views. So we're pretty excited about that for a brand new website. We think that's a pretty strong number. Most all of the traffic coming to this site is coming from paid search from the Promise campaign. But one thing we do think is also interesting is the number of people that are finding us through organic searches. So we hope that means that we've built a good site, we've got the right words for people when they're searching for this information, and that people are looking for the information that we have built. I wanted to share this page because it gives you an example of how we're using the website to really collaborate with statewide partners to help create a central place for people to find information. So we created the Finish Line to the FAFSA page, which it's full of resources. Statewide partners are pointing to this to help students and families, again, navigate the challenges that have come from the new FAFSA application. So you can find calendar of outreach events, you can find ways to create one-on-one appointments with folks that can help you complete the FAFSA. So there's just plenty of information there. I wanted to share this because we're also pretty excited about our College Ready ambassadors. We've recruited 6 student interns, 2 from each of the universities, who create authentic, informative, and fun content to share on College Ready social media sites. One of our NAU students has amassed about 100,000 views on some of his content. Most of them have views in the thousands, and they're really terrific. We're just super excited about them, and they bring a lot of energy and authenticity to talk student to student. We're also developing a parent-to-parent group so that we have parents messaging on our social media channels as well, so that they can talk to other parents. In conclusion, I would say that we feel traffic is strong for this site. We are tracking toward 1 million visitors by the time we are at a 1-year anniversary if we keep our campaigns running. We look forward to launching another campaign this fall to help continue to drive the awareness of the Promise program and about the resources available for college planning. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. I have a question first. Congratulations, this is an amazing website, and I have searched and I have Googled it to see if that works too, and really impressed of that. Also, because you were doing the Spanish version, I want to ask you, since you have parents for first generation college student, do you track Spanish and English, or that's just for anyone who click?
So there are people much smarter than I that can answer that question. We have some experts on our team that's helping us build this who can answer that for us, but yeah. I hope that we're able to engage. We'll be able to see who's going to the Spanish site.
Yeah, thank you.
And we can report back to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Is any member of the board wants to ask any question for Sarah? Yeah, Regent Pacheco.
Peer-to-peer, I think that is a great addition. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
So our next item, the board is asked to elect officers for 1-year terms beginning July 1st, 2024. Jenny Paula will present this item.
Thank you, Chair Mata.
Chair Mata, members of the board, it is time again to elect officers for the board. The board office asks the board to elect officers to a one-year term beginning on July 1st of 2024. The bylaws provide for those officers, and the nominees for this year include for Chair, Regent Mata, for Chair-elect, Regent Goodyear, for Secretary, Regent Brewster, for Treasurer, Regent Duval, and for Assistant Treasurer, Regent Zaragoza. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jenny. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hear none. Do I have a motion to elect officers for one-year terms beginning July 1st, 2024, as discussed in the executive summary?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you, Jenny. So we're going to have 20-minute break, and we will recess at 3:10. Come back at 3:10, yeah. Have a break now. Our next item is discussion and consideration of legislation affecting the university enterprise. I would like to welcome Thomas Atkins to discuss our legislative affairs portion of the agenda. Thank you, Thomas. Please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Chair Mata, Regents, Presidents. I appreciate the opportunity to present a legislative update for you. Since my last update to the board, legislative committees have wrapped up their regular work for the session, and the focus at the legislature has shifted towards developing a state budget. Unfortunately, the budget talks have been very limited, and there are a few details that I'm able to share with you today. In basic terms, though, the state budget, as many of you are aware, is a negotiation between the governor and the legislature to determine how to divide the pie that is the state budget. But before they can begin to divide that pie, the first negotiation is always about the size of the pie. And that pie, in our case, is around $16 to $17 billion. So in order to determine the size of the pie, they look to budget experts to help them look at revenue forecasts and make the best determinations they can. So enter the Finance Advisory Committee. This is an illustrious group of professional budget experts from across the state. It's composed of 11 members, includes the state treasurer, the state's budget director, and numerous professors and economists. Among the membership of this committee is the board's own Senior Director of Health Services, Lorenzo Martinez, along with UA's Dr. George Hammond, who is the Director and Research Professor of the Economic and Business Research Center in the Eller College of Management. The Finance Advisory Committee is one of 4 inputs that are used by budget staff at the legislature to determine the overall size of the budget. The other 3 inputs being legislative budget staff, and then 2 University of Arizona budget models. One's a baseline and one's a little more conservative. Combined, those 4 inputs help policymakers determine how to divvy up the state budget. So last week, the Finance Advisory Committee met to look at spring revenue and receive their budget update. The key takeaway from this meeting that I want to share with you is that overall state general fund revenues are improving, although there is still an anticipated budget shortfall for both the current fiscal year and next fiscal year. The shortfall, though, has decreased since January by approximately 20%. So what does all of this mean for budget negotiations and the progress that happens? Well, the short answer is that budget negotiations are likely to continue to be very slow, as those seeking to have fewer cuts in the state budget wait for additional revenue numbers to come in that will hopefully show even stronger revenue projections, thus strengthening their argument for fewer budget reductions. So we're looking at June for a budget. And that's probably realistic and not necessarily pessimistic. So moving on to legislation, as a reminder, the Board Government Affairs team uses the board's adopted legislative policy positions as our guiding light when we determine how best to engage on legislation. And these policy positions are on the board's website. Additionally, I want to mention that this session, the board is not pursuing any legislation. Our focus is instead on supporting state investments in the universities and including the Promise program and the board's AZ Healthy Tomorrow initiative that will help expand the state's healthcare workforce. We are especially grateful to Governor Hobbs for including both of those initiatives in her executive budget. So given the slow progress on budget, legislative leadership have essentially slowed down legislative work in general, shifting instead to a one-day-a-week work schedule for legislators. Although this has slowed down a lot of bills in the process, there is still some movement, and I'm going to highlight some of those bills for you today. Last week, Governor Hobbs signed House Bill 2178 into law. This is a bill that I've mentioned a few times before you and has had some discussion even today. This is the bill that would allow students at the university to opt to have some of their student activity fees not go to one or more student organizations. Any fee money that it doesn't go to a club organization would instead be used for programs that are open to all students. In its original form, the board and the universities were registered opposed to the bill, but given the bipartisan support, there was recognition that we needed to work to preserve as much of the student government-led process as possible. The resulting amendment was adopted and incorporated into the final version of the bill that was sent to the governor and signed. This bill will go into effect on the general effective date, which is 90 days after the legislature adjourns sine die. Next bill I want to mention is House Bill 2735, the so-called shared governance bill. This is the bill that would, among other provisions, require the board and the presidents to consult with, rather than share responsibility with, university faculty regarding educational and personnel matters. This bill is one of several, and this is going to be a theme for the rest of the bills that I mentioned, that has moved very slowly through the process, and it's in a holding pattern while legislators work to finalize the budget. The bill has received party line support since it passed out of the House, and it's anticipated that any future movement on the bill will also be on a party line vote. It's waiting for its final vote in the House before it would go to the governor for her consideration. Senate Bill 1198 is this year's Guns on Campus bill. Like the others, it has also slowed in the process. This bill would allow those individuals who have a concealed weapons permit to bring a concealed weapons onto a university, college, or community college campus. The bill has received party line support and is waiting for floor action in the House. Senate Bill 1304 is the ABOR omnibus bill that combined 5 pieces of legislation into one Uber bill. It is also in the holding pattern. The main provisions that were of note and concern for us as they related to the board policies are a possible infringement on faculty intellectual property vis-a-vis syllabi, and also limiting the ability of universities to adequately direct the speech of those employees who act as spokespersons for the universities. Again, a party line bill. Last bill I want to mention is the Grade Challenge Department bill. This is Senate Bill 1477. This bill would establish within ABOR a new grade challenge department that would have an office at each university campus, an office staffed by volunteers selected by the board. The task of this department would be to hear the appeals of students who felt that they received an unsatisfactory grade because of a political bias. The bill is again a party line vote and is waiting for a final vote in the House. This concludes the heart of my presentation on legislation. Before you is a bill list that includes all the bills that we're tracking, along with the status update of their spot in the process. And lastly, whenever I do talk about legislation, I also want to acknowledge and thank you, the board, for your support and your relationships that you have this session. It is a team effort, and it makes a difference for the enterprise. I also want to recognize and thank the government affairs teams at each of the universities. These are very capable professionals who have tremendous relationships, and together we present a nice unified front down at the Capitol in advocating for the university enterprise. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm available to take any questions.
Thank you, Thomas. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Regent Duval.
One, Thomas, and this is a tad sarcastic, but if the bills which are projected to pass, a student can object to their grade while packing?
While what? Weapon.
Yes.
Packing a weapon.
Degree of seriousness in that.
Madam Chair, Regent Duval, if that student had a CCW, then yes.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other comments or question? Thank you, Thomas. We will now move on to University Governance and Operations, items 7 to 9. Regent Goodyear, as committee chair, would you please present items 7 to 9?
Thank you, Chair Mata. We have 2 agenda items today. The first item is a request to the board to approve on second reading 3 financial policies that will strengthen financial oversight of the universities. The second item will be an update on the University of Arizona budget. First, a brief report on the April 4th University Governance and Operations Committee meeting. We started with a presentation by Arizona State University, where we heard about the significant work that ASU's faculty and the provost's office have done to update the university's general education curriculum and establish new courses for the fall 2024 semester. The committee received an update on the ongoing issues with the rollout of FAFSA, including the latest developments and the university's efforts to mitigate the harm. The committee then heard from U of A's interim CFO, John Arnold, who provided an update on the university's financial projections and budget realignment efforts. The next item pertained to the establishment of new academic fees for ASU and NAU, and the clarification of the board's prior approval of base tuition and mandatory fees for the University of Arizona, which the board voted on earlier today. The committee reviewed an amendment to the cash balance pension plan, 2 capital items for ASU, and a policy revision. The committee also reviewed each university's sunset review of fees for calendar year 2023. For item 8 on today's agenda, the board is asked to approve on second reading the proposed revisions to ABOR Policy 3-407 Financial Status Updates and new policies 3-407.01 Business Process Review, 3-407.02 Principles for University Financial Management, and repealing the guidelines for liquidity measures. Brad Kendricks with the ABOR office will present this item. Brad?
Regents and presidents. As part of the board's response to the cash liquidity and budget concerns of the University of Arizona, the board asked the board office and the university CFOs and their teams to do a thorough review of board policy related to financial oversight and to come forward with recommendations. So as a result of that collaboration, some recommendations were previewed at the January committee meeting and then were presented at the February board meeting on first reading for the committee, for the board. Since then, the universities and board office have continued to collaborate on that language in order to try to clarify it so that it was ready for implementation and would be as impactful as possible. So the bulk of the core of the language that comes forward today for second reading has not changed. The requirements are consistent with what has been presented to the board. However, I will highlight the fact that the language has been reorganized a little bit and clarified, again, for that implementation. So it is presented today on second reading and ultimately for your approval. So I'll stop there if there are any questions on the policies or changes. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, this is an action item. I move that the board approves on second reading the proposed revisions to ABOR Policy 3-407, Financial Status Updates, and new policies 3-407.01, Business Process Review, 3-407.02, Principles for University Financial Management, and 3-407.03, Liquidity Measures, and repealing the current guidelines for liquidity measures. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, Brad. For the next item, the board will receive an update on the University of Arizona budget status. John Arnold, interim CFO for the University of Arizona, will present this item. John, please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, sir. I'm waiting for some slides to appear in front of me on that giant television screen. I have absolutely no control over when those slides will appear. Oh, there they are. Excellent. So we get into that. If I can make a couple of remarks before we start the slides. When the board sent me down here in December at the president's request, my first day on campus, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous, and I was walking across campus and I ran into former Regent Schumann, who was here with his wife shopping at the bookstore, and we had just a tremendous conversation, and he expressed all the support in the world in me, and it meant a great deal to me at the time. Since then, I have been uniformly supported by everyone I've met here on campus. It's been what we're going to roll out today has been a tremendous collaborative effort between myself, the president's office, the human resources office, the staff, the faculty, and a whole host of people who have been involved in this work over the last several months. I especially need to thank Provost Marks. He and I have become very close in our budgeting attacks, and he's my partner in all of this, and I deeply appreciate him, and I, like everyone else, have implored him to stay here longer, but I, like everyone else, also wish him the very best as he moves forward and acknowledge how deserving his upcoming retirement is. I also need to thank Garth Perry in the budget office. He has just been a tremendous partner through all of this. Him and his whole team down there, they're really terrific at what they do, and appreciate their knowledge, their patience, their really, really hard work. We've pushed them hard, and they've done a great job. So I just want to thank everyone involved in that. We're gonna walk through a budget update. As noted, we will give you a projected FY 2025 budget today. I just have to start by saying every number that I'm about to show you is wrong. It's a budget. A budget by nature is a projection, and projections are wrong. We think these are pretty good numbers, but we're also very nervous about putting them out this early in the budget cycle. And there's still a number of unknowns that we're dealing with, and we'll walk through those. And so we have confidence in these numbers, but we're also confident that they're going to change in the coming weeks. So we'll look at university goals, our process, the initial budget, and some next steps. So the first, when I first got down here, I sat down with the president and we talked through where do we want to go? What are we going to do with this budget, these budget issues? And the president was adamant that our goals as a university have not changed. We laid out goals 5 years ago as part of the strategic plan, and we are on track against those goals, and we're going to have to move some resources around, and it's going to be harder to obtain some of these goals, but our goals around student retention, graduation rates, enrollment, student achievement, and post-university success, we are not backing off on any of those goals. We are going to move forward and attain those goals. On research, we absolutely are not backing off our $1 billion goal on research. We are going to achieve that goal, and not only is it the volume of research, we are going to remain one of the top universities in key areas of research. Again, not backing off that goal at all. And then our connection to the community, we are going to continue to welcome the community to campus through our arts program and excelling across that. I've had the opportunity in the last months to participate and enjoy the arts on campus. It's been a tremendous experience. There's so much talent and excitement and fun to be had in that area, and we will continue to provide that. On our athletics front, I asked our new athletic director to send me some notes about achievement in athletics, and I expected her to send things like top 20 rankings in both men and women's golf, in our softball and baseball team, in our beach volleyball team, a Sweet 16 appearance with our basketball team this year, and our highest football ranking in 25 years, but she didn't. What she sent me is that our last fall, our student athletes achieved the second highest GPA that they ever in the history of the University of Arizona. So we're not backing off any of those goals either. We're going to perform on athletics, and we are going to perform in those academic outcomes. And then we are going to continue to push our land grant mission all across the state. The University of Arizona is uniquely positioned to help the lives of individuals all across the state of Arizona. We're going to continue to serve in that capacity. So ultimately, you know, as we put in there, our goals remain to serve Arizona. We're going to do that. We have a few other goals too that have not changed. One, we're going to keep the Territorial Cup right here in Tucson. And we're going to bring the Regents Cup back home where it belongs. And then the Fuel Wonder campaign that the president launched a few years ago. We are $2 billion into this $3 billion campaign, and we're going to move forward and not only complete those goals, we're going to exceed those. We're going to blast through those goals. I should have put a rocket in that picture because we're going to beat all of that. So now back to the harder stuff. So as you noted, as you all know, we started with a $177 million problem in January. We implemented a budget strategy around that. We implemented the temporary spending limits and hiring and salary and all those measures. We are putting in place measures to monitor and control spend so that we can eliminate those temporary limits and then function within a budget. We're going to establish our 2025 spending plan, and then we'll lift those temporary limits because we have a control system in place. As we went through the budget process, Provost Marks really developed these and outlined a number of budget principles that we asked our deans and our division leaders to really use as they looked through their own departments on how to find savings. We asked each of those divisions to develop 5, 10, and 15% potential reduction ideas. We were not going to do an across-the-board cut, and we did not do an across-the-board cut. We started with the FY 2024 spending plan, used that as our baseline. That was what was driving that $177 million shortfall, and said, we need to reduce that spending. As those ideas came in, we reviewed each of those based on those principles from Provost Marks, and then impacts on individuals, students, employees, what the state needs, our reputation, and then certainly revenue. We don't want to cut just to spite ourselves. We want to make sure our cuts are strategic and that we're maximizing revenue production where we can. In the last few months, we have been busy. Provost and I, the president, attended most of these, and then with Budget Director Perry, we've gone through the all funds budgeting process, which has involved dozens of meetings. We launched and are nearing a financial aid redesign, pieces of which will go into effect this spring. The majority of it will go into effect next year. We're setting up a meeting with Chad and his team so we can go through what those pieces are, what that's going to look like. Backing off some of our highest end merit aid and bringing our overall discount rate down. We've initiated third-party reviews of athletics and UAGC. We're deep into those reviews, but they are not done yet. We have worked with the Strategic Planning Budget Advisory Committee, SPBAC, they've worked on the financial aid redesign. They're also working on a number of other items that we've asked them to focus on. We've had a series of report outs from them. We established the University Advisory Committee, which has been essential in helping us work through some of the policies that we're going to have to adjust as we move through these budget reductions. We've also centralized IT. We've centralized HR that has involved the movement of hundreds of employees around campus. We're in the midst of centralizing development so that we can maximize our development efforts and make sure they're coordinated. We've restructured the University Facilities Department and how facilities are operated and how new capital projects will be approved on campus. And we've initiated a space utilization review. We have not done one since COVID, and as everyone knows, COVID really disrupted how we're using space and the demand for space. We want to make sure we're being as efficient as possible in our space use. We have a number of leases that are off campus that we'll be reviewing as part of that and see if we can save money. So where are we in this overall process? So first, let me just note there are a number of outstanding items. We do not know what the state budget is going to be yet, and so we have not addressed the state budget. In this projection, we're holding it flat. We're not done with athletics. We expect those reports to come out end of May, early June, and then we'll be coming back to address athletics. So in these projections, again, we're holding athletics flat. We are projecting financial improvement in UAGC performance that's built into this, but we have a number of other initiatives with UAGC that will be coming on later, and then, of course, there will be other things. A lot of those items we're going to have to address in June. Today, we are going to establish is probably the wrong word. We're going to publish an initial high-level university budget. We'll show that to you. And then next week, we will be releasing an initial budget for each of the colleges. We will not be releasing an initial budget for all of the administrative units. That probably won't come till the end of May. I wish I could do them all at the same time, but frankly, we're just not done with the administrative side. There's just a number of technical adjustments we need to make. We will show you the overall reductions for our administrative units so you can see that in context. And the deans need, because of the academic calendar, they need the information so they can begin preparing their spending plans for next year now. So we've got to get those out. Starting in June and moving forward, we'll also be doing additional restructuring. We will be doing a workload review on faculty and staff. We are looking at the university operating policies, a number of policies that we would like to reform, update, and make more efficient. And then I can't see the bottom one past Chair Mata's head. So, then we'll be preparing for fiscal 26. So lots still to come after today. So that's, I hope, have I caveated enough yet? The other thing that is a little bit of an unknown and what will change is our revenue assumptions. It is early in the year to have a revenue forecast, but we had to make one so we could set our college budgets in context. We believe these revenue assumptions are conservative. They're based on limited enrollment growth in certain graduate programs. Certainly the planned increases in tuition rates that have already been put in place. We'll have some growth in indirect cost earnings through research, some growth in investment earnings on our reserves, and then we're forecasting a modest decline in on-campus enrollment. And please note, we're forecasting it as part of the revenue. We're not actually forecasting a modest decline in on-campus enrollment. We think we're going to grow. But for this exercise, I wanted a conservative revenue forecast, so we built that assumption into the revenue forecast. Are we clear on that? Casey was very nervous that I was going to say that, and no, we're not forecasting that. We're also forecasting some new revenue opportunities. We will be making some investments in certain program expansions. So we think we'll bring not just new revenue to the university, but new, I hate to say the word profit to the university, where we can expand programs where the revenues can exceed costs. We've worked with the auxiliaries and believe we can, and identified ways, not believe, we've identified hard ways where we can, concrete ways where we can improve the financial performance of the auxiliaries. And as noted, we are forecasting improved financial performance out of UAGC.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry. This slide, and if you, John, if you go back one, I want to put the last line of this slide and the last line of this slide together. So, got your clarification on campus enrollment, but you didn't say the second half, offset by online growth.
Yes.
That's UAGC?
No.
Or is that combined?
It's some UAGC, but it's also university or UA Online.
Okay.
Which is
But the
operating very well.
diversification, but the diversification
Yes.
of our strategies has created a more stable and net positive balance sheet.
That is correct. Thank you for pointing.
That is an important point in the public dialogue about UAGC.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So where does that leave us? As noted, we started with a $177 million deficit. As we talked about a couple of weeks ago, we picked up about $15 million from our initial measures. We believe our base revenues will grow about $21 million based on those forecast assumptions, about $18 million in new revenue opportunities that we've identified to date. And then we've identified about $71 million in budget reductions. And I'll give you some more detail on that in a second. For total solutions of about $125 million, so we believe we're starting fiscal 25 with a $52 million deficit, with all those other unknowns still outstanding. Breaking down the budget reductions, that's $71 million. So we bundled these in large categories, so administration and the provost office, so all of the units that report up through the provost office, we basically picked anything that isn't a college and bundled that together. So this would be student support systems, Res Life, a number of other units that report up through the provost, plus the president's office, my offices, etc. So their 2024 base spend was $475 million. We're cutting the admin about $30 million, so a 6.3% reduction. Health sciences is down about $19 million, or 6.2%. The colleges, off a $720 million base, we've identified reductions of $26 million, about 3.6%. Facilities, we actually have to put a little money into facilities. There are operating reductions in there that are offset by inflation and growth in utilities. So our utilities are paid through that budget, so about a 2.5% increase there. And then we are investing some dollars into campus safety. That's equipment, the annualization of some hires that were made last year that came on mid-year that we're going to have to pick up the full cost. And then the police department's been carrying a number of vacancies, and we're going to fund the recruitment of a handful of additional police officers. In terms of how we're going to implement the fiscal 2025 budget, every college will start fiscal year 2025 with a balanced budget. That is incredibly impactful and important. Most of our colleges have been operating in deficit. So with the reductions, and then we will allocate additional revenues from the university to make sure every college starts fiscal 25 with a balanced budget. Every college will also end fiscal year 2025 with a balanced budget. We are implementing budget management protocols, data sharing, and frequent budget check-ins to ensure that our colleges live within the budgets we establish. We will be doing the same thing for the administrative units as well.
John, we have a
Yes.
question, so Regent Manson.
Thanks. So John, if you're starting with a balanced budget and you're ending with a balanced budget and you have a $52 million deficit to start with, that leaves you at the $52 million deficit.
So that's on the colleges.
Okay.
It's on the colleges. So there's still more work to be done. There's no question. You know, we've taken a big bite out of the deficit. And really, this is 25. When we set the budget for fiscal 26, we will wipe out the rest of that $52 million.
But the objective would be that if there, so one of the disadvantages of setting a budget and saying you're going to have a balanced budget at the beginning, at the end, is that it doesn't give any incentive to implement savings, or oftentimes this kind of approach leaves people with a spend it or lose it kind of mentality. And so I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't the thought behind this, that there would be continuous evaluation of the expenses, even if the budget.
Yeah, so let me address that. And thank you, Madam Chair, Regent Manson. Two things on that front. One, the concern I have, the concern that I'm working under is that we've sat down with the leadership. We've established an expenditure plan for fiscal 25. I think they are going to do their very best to meet that expenditure plan, but I'm also very nervous that when I sit down with each of them in October and we look at their spend rate, that they're going to be above that expenditure plan. And so that's what I mean by that. The other piece of this is, the suggestion is, we are not sweeping cash balances, and so they will be allowed to keep any savings they have off of the revenue we allocate to them this year in fiscal 25. So if they're able to operate underneath that established budget, they will be able to bank those dollars in their cash balances. So I believe that they will operate in good faith and try to continue to drive down the university-wide deficit, and they'll get credit for doing so.
And so the part of this is then building the muscles of learning how to stay within a budget.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So wanted to give you a couple of examples. I noted that we're going to release the college budgets next week, that we're not releasing the administrative budgets for a few weeks left, but we have some that we wanted to show you in kind of the format that these will go out in. So this is the Office of the President and the Secretary of the University. Their FY 2024 budget was $17.4 million. We're reducing their budgets by almost $5 million, which is a 28% decrease out of the President's office.
And that percentage is higher than any of the other percentages that we saw.
Pardon?
That percentage is higher than any of the other percentages that we saw in the chart.
Yeah, they're taking the biggest cut on campus, and it's not even close.
Yep. Thank you.
I think the next largest one is around 11%, which is an administrative unit over in health sciences. And then here's another example is research, innovation, impact. Our research unit, their 2024 budget is $85 million, administrative reductions almost 7. And we're still working with them. We may be able to bring that number up a little bit more. So total savings about 7.8%. So next steps, next week, again, we'll release an initial budget for each of the colleges. And again, it's did not do across the board, so each college's percentage cut is different. We tried to weigh those carefully, and we did make some investments where we thought there would be revenue generation, and there was some where we had contractual issues that we just had to deal with. Then in the coming months, we'll have administrative budgets by unit that will come out in a month or so. And again, we will put those out publicly so everyone can see, athletics and UAGC, in hopefully mid-June. We still are working through a capital assessment. What are the capital needs on campus and what are our resources around those needs? And then we'll have to prioritize those. A lot of policy work that we need to put all of this stuff in place. And then the workforce review that we talked about earlier should be launching this summer. And that is the update for today. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, John. Are there questions?
I'd just like to make a quick comment. I think the progress that you have made in a relatively short period of time is nothing short of stunning. And I appreciate the time and effort and the relationships that you have built on this university campus to make that all possible. It's not a small job, it's not a small task, and you have taken it on. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
Thank you, ma'am. And I appreciate the president inviting me down here and giving me all the support that I needed.
Yeah, President Robin.
Yeah, Chair Mata, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the board for all of your support, not the least of which was, I think when we learned this news back in November, my first response is, we need some help. And I said, John Arl is the most qualified, best person that can come and help us. And I think people thought I was joking, but I wasn't joking. And so, John, thank you for doing this hard work along with Provost Marks and the whole team. And I am incredibly grateful to all the deans, the faculty members, the students, the staff who've been involved in these discussions. This is not easy. It's certainly angst-ridden for everyone involved. But I think, as Regent Manson said, this is incredible work in a short amount of time. And there's more work to do. We are committed to the students that are coming into our fall term class. And so we can't make any adjustments to the financial aid. I think we're going to see that students will still want to come to this great university despite moving down some of the merit aid that we've been providing, especially to out-of-state students. And as John said, we still have a lot of work to do with athletics. It's a nationwide problem, but we're going to vigorously prosecute that. And I'm incredibly grateful that our new athletic director decided to bring her talents back home to Tucson, and she is going to be a great partner for us as we move forward in this. I also think it's wise to have had the third-party individuals come in and help us with validating a lot of the assumptions in both athletics and UAGC and some of the colleges and other budget units that we have. So I'm pleased that we've got this framework to start with for the next budget. We've got a lot of work to do in the coming months to continue this great work. So thanks to everyone across the entire university and all of the community who continue to support our philanthropic efforts and supporting our students, our faculty, and our staff to continue the progress that we've been making over the last several years. So thank you, John.
Thank you, President. Well said.
Any other comments or questions?
Regent Well.
Yes, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair. I just want to reflect for a second on where we started and the context within which this work happened. We set out at the outset, this needed to be fixed without going to tuition, and have honored that. We set out to assure that there would be no reduction of retirement or faculty benefits. We've honored that. That there would be no across-the-board reductions. We've honored that. That we would figure out how to make a turnaround of the athletic department, and the president recruited a turnaround artist to do that, and it's very promising. That we would approach our reductions as they needed to occur with the principles of, first, trying to identify programs, not people, and second, that we would cut from the top. And Mr. President, the cuts in your office are certainly illustrative of that. I think other cuts that are occurring in administrative positions will evidence that as well. And the proof that this turnaround is viable, credible, and will lead us to the outcome that we desire is in the quality of the provost candidates, where we got, by all accounts, by the search committee, it said these were terrific candidates. This is a place where talent still wants to come. They believe that the future is bright and that this turnaround is a difficult moment, but one that is not going to get in the way of the inevitable return to full greatness and full capacity that this institution has historically had. So, John, in that context, I want to thank you for doing this within all of the instructions, guidelines, political engagement, directions that we have tried to adhere to, both from our elected officials and from our campus constituencies that have made a number of requests to us, which I think this plan honors. So I appreciate all of that.
Thank you, sir. Thankfully, most of those were the right parameters, so
yeah.
they were easy to work within. Thank you.
Thank you. And, you know, I echo both Regent Mansa and Regent Val, because when I was the chair of the Hialgo, I know you have you know, it was September, October, all this happened, and a couple of months later, we're in April, we were able to be where we are presently. And thank you for that. We gave John Arnold to President Robin. So, and now you're part of this community and you're part of Tucson. So, and also I want to welcome you to Tucson, because I know that it's been a transition, right? So, and thank you for being the interim as CFO, and we truly appreciate all the work behind the scene. And I know it was very hard, and it's still hard, because when we have to look at numbers are black and white. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Chair Mata and Chair Goodyear. I also want to highlight the centralization efforts that John mentioned in his presentation around IT, HR, development. Those have long been something that I wanted to do here, and very quickly, with vigorous discussion and exchange of ideas, we got to those goals. And not only that, but reviewing, again, back to the merit aid issue that I think is, during the pandemic, I said when we were faced with furlough and financial challenges, I highlighted that money as really being the largest amount of fungible money that we had. So I'm looking forward to the plan that's going to come forward, and working with the entire university community, particularly with Casey and her team, who's done an incredible job. Even through COVID, I think all three of our universities, because Arizona is such a great place to be, we saw growth of 3-4% every year. I, with pride, would say we have, every year, Casey would bring us a class that was the largest class ever. Every year it kept getting bigger. Moreover, it was the most meritorious and most diverse classes we ever had year on year. And I don't think that that's going to change, despite the fact that we'll give a little less generous award, particularly to those out-of-state students for merit aid. I think that University of Arizona is still going to be an attractive destination for students to come and experience all the great programs we have, with the incredible faculty we have, and the support that the administration and the staff. You can't have a world-class university without world-class professors, but you can't have them be successful unless they have the staff to support them. So this is a university-wide effort, including the community with our donors and people who love this university, and I couldn't be more thankful to everybody who's participated in it. I think the future is really bright.
Chair Goodyear and Chairman Sherwood. I've heard great words: credible, attainable. I want to add sustainable. I think what you are doing is going to bring a sustainable budgeting process for many years. And in that sustainability, that process, people will learn and grow to work within this budget, to do the right things, to do everything you just said, President. But sustainability to me is so important moving forward, that we have not only credibility, budget attainability, but sustainable, every year count on ability to get things done. So thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. And that's an excellent point. You know, that's there's enough difficulty in this process. So we want to set up the foundation so the university can be financially stable for the decades to come. We don't want to do this again. I'm having a good time, but I don't know that many other people are.
You need to get out more, John.
Yeah.
John, thank you. That is the final word. This is for discussion only, no action. Chair Mata, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Regent Goodyear. So our next item is the report on the April 4, 2024 Strategic Initiatives and Planning Committee meeting. So Regent Manson, as chair of the committee, would you please provide the report?
Thank you, Chair Mata. So we had a discussion regarding Arizona's changing demographics at our last meeting. We heard from Dr. Jim Chang from the Arizona State, he's the Arizona State Demographer at the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity. And he presented on our state's changing demographics and provided insights into how the population trends are impacting Arizona's K through 12 pipeline, which of course impacts our Arizona higher education pipeline and students. So Arizona has experienced tremendous and remarkable growth in the past few decades, well beyond that of the national norms. However, that growth is going to slow, and that includes those demographic areas of the high school age students, and they're projected to slow significantly. And most of our growth in this state is now projected to come primarily from migration into the state of Arizona. This projection is a little less stark for our state than it is for other states in the country that are already experiencing significant population declines, but it does highlight the probably increase in competition for a declining number of traditional college-age students and the need to continue to focus on student retention and attracting non-traditional students into the university system, including those with some college experience but no degree. So we look forward to the next Strategic Initiatives and Planning Committee meeting. And Chair Mata, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Regent Manson. So we will now move to the Student Regents Report. Regents Rees, please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to share this Student Regent Report with you today. Regent Zaragoza sends his apologies. He is actively taking finals at the moment and unable to attend. I'd also like to thank the University of Arizona for hosting us this week. With the end of the semester swiftly approaching, I think I speak for the majority of students when I say student life is busy these days with finals, projects, and capstones coming to a close. As a senior, I am grateful for these last few weeks and opportunities to make an impact on campus, and I am encouraged by the amazing work of my peers. Just last month, I had the opportunity to participate as a judge and moderator in the Regents Cup hosted by Arizona State University. This event is marvelous and epitomizes the excellent quality and value of the education, opportunities, and experiences offered at our universities. Each of the students competing in the Regents Cup was articulate, intelligent, and inspiring, and I know they will continue to lead by example and empower other students to be courageous, impactful, and great stewards of our universities. Being a good steward of our universities takes on many forms, and for many students, it centers around being involved on campus. This week, I helped lead the Evening of Excellence here at the University of Arizona, which celebrates student organizations on campus and their members who are accomplishing big things. From leading valiant philanthropy efforts, engaging new students, and giving individuals a greater purpose, these organizations foster community and are reflective of a passion for education. Meaningful engagement in organizations help make our universities a home, and it is encouraging to see students passionate about their education and time on these campuses from their very first days. This was evident to me at the University of Arizona's Admitted Students Day, hosted just a few weeks ago. This is a day dedicated to the incoming class of freshmen. As a senior, these are the individuals who will fill my shoes, and the future is bright. These students will have plentiful opportunities to be leaders and to further improve upon the great work we are leading. This opportunity to be a voice for students is one I am eternally grateful for, and I'm excited to welcome the future student regent from Northern Arizona University to the board. Thank you for your time today. It is my greatest pleasure to share the inspiring stories of my peers and our future leaders.
Thank you, Regent Reed. Our final item for today is the report from the Arizona Faculty's Council. Professor Dolly, please proceed.
Certainly. Regents, presidents, guests, the faculty of the three universities again welcome this opportunity to meet with you and share positive developments and concerns as well. It's been shown time and time again that there is great value in a college education. According to a recent article on Axios highlighting one metric of success, quote, in 2023, recent college grads 22 to 27 working full-time earned $24,000 more per year than 22 to 27-year-olds with only a high school degree. We are proud to be part of institutions that clearly help so many people live more enriched and productive lives. We thank ABOR for recognizing and supporting our universities and the value they bring to Arizona's economy. But to illustrate the challenges we face in running our institutions, a report presented by ASU and sent to you recently, the regions, shows in a comparison with 5 other states the lack of funding we receive from our state per capita since 2008. Funding has declined while the advantages to students that have the resources to attend college in Arizona has increased. We support your efforts to promote our funding with the state, but need to emphasize how little actual support we receive while costs have continued to increase, and that negatively impacts the board's goals around attainments of college degrees. Part of the challenge facing our universities is reaching as many students as possible and encouraging them to attend college. Often a financial hardship may prevent a student from choosing higher education, and that is why we are so disturbed by the recent mishandled rollout of a new version of FAFSA. But we are pleased that the university's administrations are working hard to help the students with the process. However, the board needs to be aware that if this doesn't resolve soon, it will have a negative impact on enrollment for all 3 universities. We are concerned about the narrowing of the scope nationally of what higher education should be and the devaluing of the humanities and the arts. The focus of only supporting programs that are most in demand in today's marketplace threatens to make our educational mission more about satisfying employers' demands rather than providing a high-quality education that graduates well-rounded individuals that have the ability to think critically about the issues of the day. An incurious and undereducated populace is a dangerous threat to a healthy democratic society. Universities must continue to include focus on the vital and traditional elements of higher education. In a world of increasingly rapid change where areas of employment can suddenly appear or disappear, it is more important than ever to prepare students with the breadth of knowledge that can enable them to adapt to the inevitable changes they will face. There have been movements across the country to dismantle any efforts at acknowledging the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion in higher education. We unequivocally reject the statement about DEI by the conservative think tank, the Goldwater Institute, that Arizona's public universities, quote, force applicants to pledge support for progressive, racialized notions of diversity, equity, and inclusion, end quote. We believe it is essential to acknowledge challenges within our society related to these concepts. We raise again our concerns about HB 2735, a bill that proposes to relegate faculty to the role of being consulted rather than following a shared governance model. Consulted is a vague term, somewhat meaningless. The bill strikes language from Arizona laws that require faculty members to participate in decisions involving academic matters at the university. This would dramatically alter the traditional system of university operations. Shared governance has been the national norm for universities for over a century, and it has proven to be an effective method for ensuring the best outcome for universities, faculty, students, and the communities they serve. It guarantees faculty a role in curricular decision, which is their area of expertise. We do not support this bill. We would like to end with our closing statement from the last ABOR meeting. Like democracy, shared governance is not always neat and tidy, but it represents the surest way to guarantee the best outcomes for our students, the community, and the state of Arizona. We want you to know that we profoundly appreciate the board's support in working with you, and we look forward to continuing to work constructively together. I'm happy to entertain any comments or questions you might have.
Thank you, Professor Donnelly. Any question, comments?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So this concludes today's public meeting. The board is scheduled to reconvene in executive session for a review of assignments with President Crow and President Robbins and other items on the executive session agenda. The board will adjourn following executive session. I would like to thank President Robbins again, the staff, interim executive director Cham Sampson, and the board staff for their work on this meeting. Thank you. The board is now in recess.